All right, welcome everybody. So welcome to Migrating from HFM to EPM Cloud. My name is Rich Wilkie. I lead the product management team here at the Big O Oracle for financial close. I'm guessing most of you, if you're here, have probably heard me talk before, since I'm old school Hyperion and been at Oracle and Hyperion now since 2000, so 20 years. I just celebrated my 20-year anniversary. And my friend Al Marciante is also going to be lurking here, answering Q&A and helping me out because Al and I are a tag team. So I guess I'm the last session of the day, I think, of the conference. So I assume all of you have your virtual suitcases waiting to go to the virtual airport to virtually fly home after this session. But I appreciate everybody taking the time to end their conference with my session today. So let's get into it a little bit. Safe harbor statement, roadmap always comes up. Just understand our roadmap does change. So I'm going to kind of cover a few subjects today. First, I want to talk a little bit about the on-prem update. I know it's been covered a few times, never sure who's all attended, and I think it's important to make sure we get to it. So a brief little update on on-prem. You can always go back and look at Al's session from yesterday. A lot of details covered on that as well. Then we're going to talk about financial close in the cloud, really where we're at today. I think it's really important to understand what's happening. We're going to talk about some innovations and improvements because, oh boy, a lot has happened. There's some HFM comparison slides that will kind of show. I'm not going to go too much detail because I think you'll get the gist of it. And then we've got this cool new program that I think is worth you guys understanding. So all that in 45 minutes. Sounds like a lot. So let's cover it. First and foremost, right, if we're talking about the on-prem standpoint, 11.124, you all should know your Premier support ends December 2021. That's Premier support. Of course, it goes into sustaining. 11.2 was released in December of last year. Merry Christmas from Oracle. We are now on 11.2.3. That goes through at least December of 2031. So 11.2 through at least December of 2031. 11.1.2 through December of next year. So obviously just those are things to consider. Certainly if you're going to go to 11.2, you got to understand that some things are no longer available. They've been discontinued. Most relevant, I think, is EPMA. So if you use EPMA, it's in the bottom right, additional. EPMA is not available, so you're going to have to come up with an alternative, whether it's going to Classic or whether it's leveraging the restricted use license for DRM that's available. If you use EAL, S-Base Analytics Link, you can use that with 11.2, but only through December 2021, right? Because that's sort of the support for it, because you can still use the 11.1.2 version with 11.2, but only through December of 2021 for support. And then the other ones I don't think matter. So those are the two to consider. Certainly EAL can easily be replaced with FDM EE. EPM Architect, we already talked about some options for that. So I think people are really looking and they're saying, okay, I've got some options. I can either upgrade to 11.2 on-prem, really manage it yourself. You can upgrade to 11.2, run it on, say, OCI or even Amazon Web Services, anything like that. Those are certainly valid options. Or you can look at Cloud EPM. And I think, today I'm going to cover, let's get into Cloud EPM. I think yesterday's session covered the 11.2. So let's talk about what's happening in the cloud and catch you all up. So this is a really interesting one because certainly Gartner has rated us as the market leader, but also what's interesting is from an overall EPM perspective, Oracle is really the only vendor in our space that is a leader in all of these areas. So account recs, right, where Oracle's got an awesome account rec product. Financial close, Oracle's got that. Tax, we're really consistent. So if you're looking at an EPM solution, you want to make sure you're working with a vendor that covers all of these areas because it's going to give you consistency. And so that's certainly something that I think we're proud of, certainly something we work awfully hard to achieve. If you're wondering, kind of one of the big differences between the cloud and on-prem is certainly how upgrades in the on-prem world compared to updates in the cloud world. So upgrades are really things that you guys are looking at, you've done before. So it's going from 11.124 to 11.2, or it's when you went from 11.122 to 11.124. Most people who do those upgrades are really looking from a technical standpoint. They're really trying to make sure, do I have the latest browser support or Office support or anything like that? Rarely do customers really in that on-prem world focus on bringing new innovations into their process. they're really looking at sort of making sure that they're taking advantage of the latest technology. Now, in the cloud world, we have innovations happening every month. We do monthly updates, but as part of that process, we do it, you don't do it, so it's run by us. All of our customers are current, so that's really an awesome testament to the process that we do here. It means that all of those innovations are always available to you. So if I say we have performance improvements, you don't have to upgrade in 3 years to get those performance improvements. You get those at the next monthly update. Those are always available to you. Now, the nice thing here in the cloud is there is this concept of called enabled features. So we might push out some features that you currently don't need or you don't want at this time. You just don't have to turn those on. But when you need them, you just go into your application, check the little box next to the feature, and it's automatically enabled into your application. It allows you to respond quicker and allows you to react and grow your application based on different business requirements that much sooner. Side note, it also helps folks like Al and I know how people are using our software. We get feedback on what people are doing, how they're doing it, and allows all of our customers to really give us a much better feedback loop than what we had before in the on-premises world. So if we're looking at what our customers are telling us, this is really one of those interesting things as we do this value survey. And our value survey is a way for customers to give us feedback as far as how things are going. You can see here just kind of crossing some of the areas in the financial close. 72% less time in closing the books, awesome, time. 40% saving money and audit fees, money. Time and money, those are really critical elements here. 80% less complex close. So these are all things that we want. Faster, saving money, less complexity. Who doesn't want that in their close process? That's really a value statement for what we're delivering here. So we talk about connected close because it's more than just consolidations. I'm going to focus mainly on consolidations today, but understand that that connected close is really one of the critical value points here, because it's about how do I have my reconciliation process in conjunction or connected to my close process, which, oh, by the way, is all being run by my process orchestration, my calendar concept. So I have always have transparency into my process. Making all of this sort of a singular process is really an efficient way to do your close and to have better results with your close. If we talk about the concept of the close, there's consolidations in close. Obviously, that's a critical element. That's something that we do every month to basically get our statutory and management reporting. But clearly, reconciliations are a critical part of that overall process. It's really how you manage your compliance. And so really bringing that in makes your close better. You can't really close without tax, so you need that element. And of course, if you don't have good reporting, what's the point? I think all of us have struggled a little bit with financial reports over time. And so having this narrative reporting, this really next generation reporting available in the cloud is a huge value to just overall your usage of the software and getting better results from it. So when we did the cloud, we really focused on a couple key areas, and this is unique from on-prem, and this is one of those differences certainly for, say, an HFM customer moving to the cloud. We really focused on a more holistic approach. So we didn't want to just have consolidations in HFM and then have all these separate products. We wanted to bring a full process, record to report process, into the overall software. So you have your supplemental data for disclosures and footnotes totally integrated into it. I can drill from a statement balance back directly and get to my footnote details. It's all totally integrated. I can validate those two results together. I have my calendar driving my entire close. So any point in time, I can see where am I at in the close. I have all of those processes just totally integrated from a process flow as well. So it's much easier for you to understand that complete process because it's all built together. We also have focused on getting away from scripting. Obviously, you HFM folks know the power and the value of VB script, but also that it's a unique skill. And so we didn't want to make everyone be a VB expert all over again, because the problem with that is as your business changes, you really need to keep consulting those VB experts to maintain it. And it really just becomes a programming skill, not a finance or an accounting skill. So we took all those years of experience that we built into the software, and we built as much out-of-the-box functionality as we can. You can see over on the right, rules are things that you code in HFM. Everything that's pre-built is out-of-the-box functionality in the cloud. There are folks on my team I actually have someone on my team who is the original Hyperion Enterprise product manager. I've been doing this job for 20 years. Many of you know people on my team. We've all been around for 20, 30 years. We're that old. But what that means is we know how people use our software, and as opposed to making you keep coding, let's give you that out-of-the-box functionality so you can grow with the software and not have to be a technical expert, but be the accounting expert that you want to be. We also built everything on the cloud platform. So as opposed to the HFM and planning and all these different products, we really focus on a single platform for truly integrated reporting experience. It just makes it so much easier for end users as well as administration to have a common platform driving all of your business. But that common platform has all those best practices built into it, right? So that's really the key area. And we keep adding more of those best practices into the software. So if you're wondering, we started Consolidations back in about May of 2016. We actually released on the cloud and planning about 2 years before that. So we've actually been working now for over 4 years, just innovating for Consolidations on the cloud. We hit parity with HFM probably like late 2018, early 2019. So if you think it's not on par with HFM, you're wrong. Every HFM customer can be successful in the cloud. It's something we prove every day. And we're actually innovating even beyond that right now. And so that's really kind of one of those neat things is my team hustled quite hard to kind of draw all these features together, really bring that together. But we really feel like now we have an incredibly strong offering that's better than HFM. And I think that's really something critical for you all to be successful. So if we think about some of the key differences, right? I talked about that single platform, just so much easier to maintain, so much easier for you to manage within your overall process. The analytic capabilities in the cloud are really just second to none. I can't even stress enough what the cloud can offer from a dashboarding perspective, from a reporting perspective, just from an overall analytics perspective. And let's face it, those are all things that really matter. It's great that we can close the books and pull all this data together, but don't we ultimately need to report against it and give our users different tools to interact with that data? That's really something we truly focus on here. And then having all that out-of-the-box content. Your business evolves and changes. A year ago, none of us thought we'd be where we are today. I certainly did not. But you know what? It happens, and your business has to adapt and change and react to it and grow. And new management comes in and they want to change how we report and analyze. All these things happen. Our ability to change and react to that quickly is really one of those key drivers. And that's what we try to do with this out-of-the-box content. So, of course, all this stuff is important, but what's even more important is that ability to integrate that data back. Like, how do I grab data from my different data sources? Some of you have one ERP, some of you have 80 ERPs, right? It really does, it's kind of all over the place. But the ability to easily pull those data sources together, load that into our consolidation system with a common chart of accounts, and do all of our reporting is critical. The ability to schedule that, the ability to drill back to that data, those are all things that everybody wants to be able to do. I don't only want to be able to schedule and automate my entire data integration process, but I want to give my users the tools when they're looking at a value in a smart view sheet that they can drill back all the way to the respective ledger and actually look at the transactions that make that up. And oh, by the way, I want to do that all on the cloud, leveraging this little integration agent to do it. So I don't need FDM client install anymore. I can do all this easily. And that's really something that I think benefits everyone. I talked about sort of the value of reporting and what you can get. Now, narrative reporting is really unique to the cloud, and it really consists of, say, 3 key areas. One, obviously, is just the overall reporting aspects of it. This is really next generation FR. And this really allows you to go ahead, you can do centralized reporting from your ERPs, EPM, SBase, anything you need to do with that. It's got much better charting, and just the design is a lot easier than FR. And it really just allows you to take that next level of what your end users want from a reporting aspect. But oh, by the way, you can also do report packages. So very few of us actually prepare big reports in a vacuum. We oftentimes collaborate with our peers. We've got sign-offs and approvals. We want to get that report package where we can bring it all together, have a workflow to it, sign-offs, all that kind of good stuff, but allow those multiple users to securely collaborate to put together some type of report package. Report package could just be monthly analysis, right? Monthly results. But each month, right, we just refresh that report package and publish that out again. But it's really a great way to kind of collectively and collaboratively build together reporting. And then many of us also have regulatory reporting needs, sort of the XBRL, IXBRL aspects. That's also another aspect of narrative reporting. So once again, really bringing that overall tight reporting from just your basic reporting, putting together schedules, to all the way to tagging those schedules and publishing those. So a lot of deep functionality across all those different areas. We also have a level of emerging technology that we bring into the software. So if you think about it, right, emerging tech is one of those areas where it can really help make a process better if we leverage it properly. And that's really what we call intelligent process automation, or IPA, on the upper right. It's really about how do we automate as much as possible. You know, how do we automate our overall close process? When we pull ledger data, run it through a data mapping process, load it into Consolidations, consolidate the data, and generate an intercompany report, do I need a user to do any of that? No. You just need to notify the user, hey, here's a link to your intercompany report where they can go do their analysis. The rest of that can all be handled automatically with monitoring and automation brought into it. It's going to make your process more efficient, eliminate any roadblocks or users in meeting or any of that kind of stuff. It's just going to allow it to be more efficient. Now think about emerging tech as we go forward. When we traditionally have an intercompany out of balance greater than 10%, we might generate a journal entry. Well, machine learning allows us to determine that that's your regular process and automatically start creating those journals and put them into workflow for you. So all sorts of neat things where emerging technology can help take a repeatable process like the close and make it more efficient by letting the software learn how we traditionally do things. So let's talk about some of the innovations and improvements we've done here. This is just everything on the left, and the what's new are things that we've added into the software over, say, the past, I don't know, 6 months or so. We have added, I'm just going to pull a few of these, year-to-date journals. So those of you who know Consolidations in the cloud, we were just doing periodic journals. You can now do year-to-date and journal-to-date journals. We also have the same level of journaling capabilities with parent adjustments, contributions adjustments, and the equivalent of parent currency adjustments. So all those options are totally available. We've added the ability where in rules you can impact status, something that people did in HFM before, as well as many other areas like calculate movements for closing system balance. So if you're loading life-to-date balances, we'll automatically calculate the periodic squeeze values for that. So we've added a lot more functionality just to cover those different sort of edge use cases in HFM. The few things that we're adding and that go forward, and these are all on the relative near horizon, phase submissions. So if you use process management in HFM today and you're doing phase submissions, that is something that is actively under development coming in the near term. The ability to track shares in the managed ownership. Today we're tracking percents, but we're also going to add the ability to track shares. And if you caught Joe's session that ended right before this, we're also adding Groovy support for those folks who are fans of Groovy, which has been supported on the planning side for a while. We're also adding, this is kind of one of those interesting ones, digital assistant support. It's actually being tested by a few folks today. But digital assistant is sort of, think of it as if you use Slack or Microsoft Teams to collaborate, you can actually, like in Slack, you can ask a Slack bot. In this case, you could actually ask, what's the status of the close? You know, what is, do I have any journals that I need to approve? So you don't have to log on to the system. You can actually do it through your digital assistant, do those actions through your digital assistant, run a consolidation. Some pretty interesting innovations happening that will make people's lives easier. If you're like me and you're in 1,000 meetings a day, having the ability to access your process from, say, your phone and just interact with it from like virtually texting is a heck of a lot easier than logging onto your laptop, running a report, doing actions that way. So just giving you different opportunities to interact with the software. I know there's been a lot of chatter in the market about performance of the cloud, and so I wanted to share some of the improvements that we've done and some more things that are coming. So 1908 is August 2019, 2007 is July 2020. So basically in a 1-year time frame, you can see here these are with 6 customer applications. In this time frame, we basically cut our consolidation times about 40% for both full year, so 12 period, as well as single period consolidations. So really great improvements in just that one time frame. By the way, there were lots of improvements even before August 2019. This is just that time period that we've defined. Translations actually, I think, are roughly more in the 70% time frame. So, and by the way, you didn't have to upgrade to get this. That automatic update that happens every month delivers this set of functionality. We also have introduced a few more things. There's something called view-based consolidations, which about 6 or 7 customers are using right now. That actually cuts those July 2020 times in half, so even reduces it again. And then we've got some other projects that are coming out basically over, say, the next 2 to 4 months that will all reduce consolidation times about in half again. So take that July 2020, cut it in half, cut it in half. That's the kind of improvements we keep making on performance. Right now, we're on par with HFM from a performance standpoint. And when I say HFM, I'm saying HFM 11124, which is the fastest HFM ever. And we're just getting better from that standpoint. So we're really focusing on how do we optimize the code we control? We're also focusing on training our partner community because they do write some customizations at time, and we want to make sure those customizations that they're creating are as optimized as possible. Just like you could write really efficient VB script and really slow VB script, we need to make sure that our partner community feels empowered to do the best possible customizations with the cloud as well. And that's something we've been focusing on during COVID also, is really focusing on that partner community outreach. So performance is actually remarkably improved, at least as good as HFM, if not better, and just getting better as we move forward. So we feel very confident about where we are from a performance standpoint. So a little bit of comparisons with HFM, right? So if we look at sort of the difference here, I think we're definitely focused from a cloud standpoint on more of the best practices. We're definitely focused on enhanced analytics and reporting. We're definitely focused on a more out-of-the-box experience and less customizations. And we're also focused on that holistic cloud, right, as opposed to just singular product level changes. But this, and you can have this, you'll have this presentation, you'll be able to see it. We did some compare and contrast for sort of different areas between HFM and the cloud, just so you could, pretty easily go through here and compare things. You could see, like, first it goes through all the different dimensions. They all have the similar levels for dimensions. Some of the things, obviously, in the on-prem world, in HFM, you need to actually go ahead and create those extra dimensions. You need to write that level of functionality. That's out of the box. So things like we have certain pre-built members, our cash flow calculations, things like that. Those are all out of the box delivered functionality. On-prem world, you had to create that yourself. There's really no pre-built calculations in HFM. In the cloud, there's a ton of it. We also have, once again, a more holistic experience. The cloud includes data integration, directly integrated, so you don't jump out to separate windows or buy separate products. It includes task management. It includes integrations to all different data sources. So it's a singular experience with one navigation versus in the HFM world, you have separate products to manage, administer, and maintain. I talked about the benefits in the reporting. Just the capabilities with the dashboarding and the next generation reporting is that much better than what you can get in the cloud. And oh, by the way, they all do consolidations, translations, eliminations, overrides, all of that. It's just in the cloud, a lot of that is out of the box versus on-prem, a lot of that you're coding yourself. We talked about supplemental data and sort of the additional capabilities that are integrated into the cloud that in on-prem you don't have. The one thing that I thought was pretty neat is this last slide. When you look at some of those unique capabilities to the cloud that are not available on-prem, like drill through from a summary member, that's been asked a lot of times. I want to be able to drill, but not from a base member, but a summary member, can do that in the cloud. Process monitoring and execution, just that overall ability to monitor all my tasks within the cloud available. You can see different capabilities here, but there is additional feature function available in the cloud that's not available on-prem. It doesn't mean HFM is not an awesome product. It just means we learned and innovated what people liked and didn't like, and we've improved on the areas they didn't like, to really add that value add here. So I think that's definitely something you'll see if you explore the cloud. A lot of customers here, customers who've moved from other solutions, as well as customers who've moved from on-prem Hyperion. We've talked about these stories before. I'm not going to drill into too many stories, but lots of HFM customers have moved, are in the process of moving, and they've talked at our various conferences to do that. And I think that's certainly something that we love to see. Unfortunately, not a lot of in-person conferences this year. So hopefully next year we'll get back and have these in person, and you'll be able to hear all these great stories coming directly. But there's always been good webcasts. There's no shortage of webcasts today in the world. And you'll see those on LinkedIn, et cetera, people talking about those stories. So I encourage you all to go out. Just a few names on here. I mean, SRAM was a great, they make bike products, and great HFM migration. Avis was a great migration. Office Depot, these are all great HFM migrations that you should drill into and look into those stories. And certainly we can share more in other webcasts. So I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the things that's available to you, and I think would make it easier for folks to understand sort of, okay, what would my journey to the cloud look like? So we've got this HFM analysis program, and it's really initiated via your local Oracle team. So you don't come to me, you really go to your local Oracle team. The reason we say that is it's simply not possible for me to scale across all of you at this level. Your local Oracle team can initiate and engage my team to do this analysis. Basically, what we get from you is we take your metadata file. XML works much better than APP for what we're doing here, as well as your rule file. We've built some software to go ahead and do some analysis. That's why we need the XML. And basically, in about 1 to 2 weeks, we come back. We say, are there any potential problems? Like, did we see anything that doesn't make sense for the cloud? We give you a readout of your HFM application. The most interesting thing, we've done about 100 of these so far. The most interesting thing about this is we see some really great HFM applications, and we see some pretty awful HFM applications. And we actually give you a pretty honest readback of it, of like what we see, what our analysis is. Sometimes we have questions because we can't quite figure out what you're doing. But it really allows us to drill into it. We've got some folks on my team who have extensive HFM as well as cloud experience who really drive this process, and they really can intelligently talk on both sides. And ultimately what we do is we give you a conclusion on what your path to the cloud might look like. You know, what we think is the best practice. You know, do we foresee any issues? Where are the opportunities? You know, one of the things that we do is we really highlight any recommendations for you. So oftentimes in that move to the cloud, you might there might be recommendations where we say, you know what, we've been working with a lot of customers who've made a similar journey. These are some of the things that they've done. Your HFM experience is similar. These are some of our options. Now, mind you, this is not sales doing this. You just initiate the process with sales. This is my team doing it, product management. We're part of the development organization. We find the earlier we get involved with our customers and prospective customers, the better off we are in making sure they have a successful move. The readout looks a little something like this. We get some readout of basically it tells us about your application, your dimensions, your rules. It just gives us some analysis of what we're seeing in your application. We also can look at your rule file and really drill it and say, okay, based on your rules, what's out of the box already in the cloud, and what is something where we might need to ask more questions, or you're maintaining code today. Like over on the right, you can see there's a ton of cash flow that's being done. Cash flow in the cloud is all out of the box. It's all configuration, not customization, i.e. not coding. So that entire section, you would just assume the best practice that we have available, and you wouldn't have to maintain that code anymore. There's lots of opportunities like that, but ultimately this is all standard part of that output that we generate as part of our process. So we encourage everyone, you know, reach out to your Oracle sales team. Oracle sales team might reach out to you and get involved in this process. It will definitely help you have a better understanding of that migrate to 11.2 or move to the cloud process. and just let my team get involved with you a little bit sooner. Additionally, there's some other programs that development offers. Once again, these are not development programs. If you made that journey to the cloud, these are other programs that we offer that can really add value to you. The Implementation Success Program in the upper left is an awesome program. As part of your project, your cloud project, you have a development representative who you meet with on a regular basis. Think of them as essentially a part of your project team. They can help you as far as review design requirements to make sure that your design requirements are really a good fit up front. There's no issues in there. You're not trying to do something that doesn't really make sense or might lead to a problem later on. And so we give you that validation up front. We work with you through the process to make sure if there's any roadblocks that you hit, we can help resolve those. We do regression testing, we put together a regression testing process so that every month you can run your regression testing. And we also do some performance testing for you to give you a level of validation about what your performance is going to be. So it really helps you feel good about your project, stay in contact with development all the way through to go live, and really make sure that your project is successful. There's also things like platinum support and other areas that will really all just make sure your project is successful and make sure that Oracle stays closely involved with you from project initiation to go live. And I think the one thing we've really seen here is how successful these programs are and how they really help make sure our customers make it to that go live with as minimal issues as possible and really the best possible application design. Those are all definitely things that we encourage our customers to take advantage of as they make that journey to the cloud. So if you ever want to learn more about this, if you're new to financial consolidation and close or new to the different cloud solutions, you definitely can go out to our doc portal. I've actually made this guy on the left a link. So when I put that out there, you'll be able to click on it. I've linked it to financial consolidation and close, but you can certainly, if you just navigate back to cloud applications up here, you'll be able to drill into the different, whether it's account recs or anything else you might want to get information on. You can see there's a number of different things. There's a lot of videos and tutorials. Those really walk you through all the different items. They're like 3 to 5 minute videos that really help explain how translations work or what's the consolidation process. We've got all the standard books, so the admin guide, the user guide, that different type of information. We've got links to the different communities where you can understand. And the one nice thing over here is what's new in your update. That launches over to this on the right. Remember I talked about every month we do an update? So every month there's an update that's published. You can go out here and click on it and actually see everything new that's been changed in that monthly update. So it lets you kind of stay current. If you want to say, oh, I wonder what's coming in November, we'll publish that about a week before the November update. You also get an email. So you can go out and review through it. So it gives you the ability to always go back and look and see what's been added when it's been added. There's also this see all EPM Cloud features. That's the second link. The first link takes you to this. The second link takes you to something where you can actually, you could filter and say, show me all new features that have been added in Consolidations over the past 4.5 years. And it would actually list those out by month, newest to oldest. And you can search in that as well. So it really gives you total transparency to everything that's happening. Once again, everything I've shown you here is publicly available. This is on the Oracle documentation portal. There is nothing here that is hidden. We are fully transparent with everything that we're doing. So if you ever want to go review and see what's out there, definitely go do it. If you ever want to go watch some videos or see a get started video, go check it out. If you ever have any extra questions or comments, reach out to your Oracle team. Reach out to me. You can always grab me on LinkedIn if you don't know my email, but most people know my email by now. That's what happens when you work at the same company for 20 years. But we're here to help, and we basically want to tell you all that we feel comfortable about the cloud. We think HFM customers can be successful moving to the cloud. Many HFM customers have already done it, and more are in flight right now. And we just think it's a great time for you all to explore and look into it. So with that, Al, do we have any questions that we should be addressing?
Sure, yeah, there's one, and because you kind of highlighted some of the customers, especially, I'm assuming this means going from 11.124 HFM to the cloud, meaning FCC. So do you have any, especially now, not the ones that started the journey 4 years ago, but now, how long do those projects generally take? I know everyone's going to be unique based on their requirements, but do you have any?
I think in general, we see projects as being 3 to 6 month projects. I think they're definitely getting more efficient now as the community is just much stronger and much more comfortable doing these migrations. But I think on the low end, 3 months is reasonable. On the high end, 6 months, depending on complexity. Of course, then the other factor is how many months parallel do you want to do? There's, those are always factors that come into it. But those are all things that are unique to your business that you need to work out. But I think a 3 to 6 month project's reasonable.
And this one's a little bit longer one, so I don't know if you have the Q&A in front of you, but alternative exchange rate sets on the roadmap. They want to keep them within the source scenario versus having to consolidate in specific exchange rate scenarios. Is that anything you guys are looking at?
So we do actually support extra global rates as far as local rates. So I think you could probably do that today. I understand it's very typical for people to do extra scenarios for like ACT-BUD, like what's listed. That's a pretty typical sort of, because that way it segregates it out. But if you wanted to, you could explore using alternate rates. I personally don't mind the extra scenario thing because I think it keeps it a little bit cleaner for your analysis standpoint. But that might be something I see who sent that. You might want to also drop me a note just so we can discuss what you're trying to do a little bit more detail with that use case.
Okay, and then FCC have the ability to pull directly from NetSuite. Data and metadata.
Yeah, so actually there's a NetSuite integration for all of EPM Cloud that you can definitely leverage today. That's certainly something that many customers are using both on the planning side as well as the close side. Fundamentally, it doesn't matter. It's a generic EPM integration for both data and metadata. So yes.
Okay, great. I don't know if we have any others there. So if anybody's got additional questions to ask Rich, go ahead and type them in and we'll try and get those answered before we wrap up.
Okay, so somebody just asked about org. I got the Q&A up now. So sorry, just joined. Org by period, will it be implemented in FCC? So you absolutely can do org by period today. It works slightly different than HFM from a standpoint that in HFM had the active inactive, and in the cloud, basically you can set your ownership to 0 and then the entity won't roll up. So, fundamentally, I think most people didn't love HFM's org by period because the ones and zeros is really overly complex. We've done a slightly implementation of it in the cloud, but you can do it today.
Okay. And I could, I know the next question person here, the person that posted the question. So given that Enterprise EPM now allows access to all apps or what we call business processes, should we ever think there will be one, I'm assuming that means one mega application or Uber application that has everything in it versus, and then there's a list of the old acronyms. So definitely we don't use those old acronyms anymore. These are business processes. And I think even when you see those that tout that they could do everything in one application, it actually doesn't satisfy the requirements from the customer side. For most customers, I know that there's been instances where there's been a custom consolidation and planning app built directly in PBCS, but for most customers, that doesn't really work out well due to the metadata and the different rules and the way things are calculated. So our goal right now to provide the most flexibility, because we do see customers that may have 5, 6, 7, 8 planning applications. They have freeform apps. They have, account reconciliations is dramatically different than consolidation. So, our goal is not to try and force fit everything into one massive data model and do that there. We really give the flexibility and also gives the ability to have these run on different cycles based on, where the workloads and other things are at. So for now, we're not really going that route because that's generally not what the large majority of customers are going to implement into production anyways. So hopefully that helps.
Do you want the next one?
We're going to touch here load balance testing that Oracle helps with. Yeah, so, we do different types, even when we're doing releases, we use different automation tools through the UI, other things that exercise through the APIs. So certainly things that you see with EPM Automate and Groovy and other things all give us opportunities to test workloads at different levels. So yes, we do test for that. And as Rich mentioned, you know, he kind of alluded to it when he talked about the release cycles. We're actually always collecting diagnostics on the, you know, on the customer environments that are out there. We don't see any data. We don't know what you're doing necessarily. We see what areas of the system, and you get the same information through an activity report. I would recommend some of the things that Rich showed that talked about the regression testing, the implementation success program. Just Google EPM Cloud Operations Guide. There is a document out there, a book that we put out within our documentation library that lists all these things, and including what's captured in the activity report. So, you know, this is also something you can view to see what the workloads are, what rules are running, how consistently they run, what the highest used parts of the system were, what artifacts or other things are consuming resources. I mean, all these different things we do there. So it's one thing just to test a user workload and say, okay, I have 300 users simultaneously querying through SmartView or through a web UI. And then there's also saying that as I'm loading more data and I continue to run this rule month to month, am I getting consistent performance out of this? And those are all things we continue to monitor, because if we need to, you know, increase resources assigned to the environment that you're running, those types of things we take care of. So kind of a long-winded answer, but yes, we do that regression testing there. We also could provide guidance for that document. Also tells you how to automate your regression testing. So as we update in your test environment, you could, you know, lights out, just go ahead and test some of the same scenarios you may need. So we help you with that as well. That's another development program that data information is in the operations guide.
And then there's another question that talks about, do we have drill through to sources like eBusiness Suite or NetSuite? Absolutely. We actually can drill back to any data source. I talked about the EPM integrations. So we have customers who have 80 ledgers, and you can drill back to 80 ledgers. It does not matter what the source is. You can absolutely drill back to them. And then this question, you mentioned consolidations have decreased with PSUs. Is that still the case if you have custom consolidation rules? We did not get any consolidation savings on the upgrade from 11.2.3 to 11.1.2.4 as promised by Oracle. Well, I guess this is an HFM question. In general, HFM 11.1.2.4 is considered the fastest release. I can't talk anything about your specific situation without knowing it, and I'm not sure who Oracle is that promised. But in general, with every update, whether it's the cloud or on-prem, we focus on improving performance. It's certainly something we're always striving to do. So there's a question about the calculation language for the cloud. So in general, if you think of HFM has VB script galore for sub-consolidate, sub-calculate, sub-translate, sub-allocate, etc. In the cloud, the sub-consolidate is actually UI driven. There's no scripting. Translate is the same thing. There is scripting capabilities available for the equivalent of sub-calculate if you want to do that. That's similar to what planning business rules. So you use Calc Manager to create that, and Groovy's coming soon. But in general, we try to limit the customer's need to do as much scripting. Remember, we have a lot of out of the box. So a lot of those things that you might have done in sub-calculate, like your roll forwards, your overrides, your cash flow, those are already out of the box. So that is the only area, but it's the same. If you have to script, it's like planning.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much, Rich and Al. We really appreciate the thoroughness of your presentation, and I know the